What if the Arctic could be saved by creating fake ice? That sounds impossible. But the strangest part is that scientists have already discussed ways to do exactly that. Right now, the Arctic is disappearing faster than most people realize. Over the last few decades, it has lost almost all of its oldest and thickest ice. What remains is mostly thin seasonal ice that melts and reforms every year. And that's where the danger begins. Most people think Arctic ice only matters to polar bears. But the Arctic is actually Earth's giant cooling system. Its bright white surface reflects sunlight back into space, helping regulate temperatures across the entire planet. So what happens when that mirror disappears? Temperatures rise. Weather patterns become unstable. Droughts intensify. Floods become more frequent. Heat waves grow stronger. But here's the strange part. Scientists believe the Arctic could become nearly ice-free during summer within the next decade. And if that happens, the consequences won't stay in the Arctic. They'll spread everywhere. So could we stop it? One proposal sounds like something straight out of science fiction. Imagine 10 million giant wind-powered pumps scattered across the Arctic. Their job would be simple. Pull seawater onto the ice during winter, where it would freeze and create a thicker protective layer. In just one season, those pumps could potentially add an extra meter of ice. Sounds incredible, right? But there's a catch. The project could cost around $500 billion. And that's when the real question appears. Is saving the Arctic worth $500 billion? Before you answer, consider this. The cost of losing it could be far greater. But that's not even the craziest part. Because some scientists have proposed an even stranger solution. Instead of making more ice, what if we made existing ice brighter? This idea focuses on something called the albedo effect. Ice naturally reflects sunlight back into space. The brighter the ice, the more cooling power it has. So researchers suggested covering Arctic ice with billions of tiny silica microspheres. Basically, microscopic shiny particles. The goal? Turn the Arctic into a larger mirror. And this is where it gets weird. The plan would cost only a fraction of the pumping project. But it would require dumping millions of tons of material into one of Earth's most fragile ecosystems. Nobody knows exactly what would happen decades later. Would marine life be affected? Would ocean chemistry change? Would we accidentally create a new environmental disaster while trying to solve another one? And that's when things become even more surprising. Some scientists think we shouldn't focus on the ice at all. Instead, they want to control the clouds above it. The idea sounds simple. Spray ultrafine seawater mist into the atmosphere. That mist helps clouds become thicker and brighter. Brighter clouds reflect more sunlight away from Earth. In theory, the Arctic cools down. Problem solved. Except maybe not. Because every climate system on Earth is connected. Change one thing, and something unexpected may happen somewhere else. Then comes the biggest twist of all. What if we simply manufactured giant artificial icebergs? Picture submarines collecting seawater beneath the Arctic Ocean. Massive onboard systems remove the salt. Giant freezing machines transform that water into enormous floating icebergs. It sounds brilliant. Until you realize the energy needed to build those icebergs might create enough heat to cancel out the benefits completely. And suddenly the entire rescue mission starts looking like a paradox. The harder we try to save the ice, the harder we might make the problem. But what happens if we do nothing? This is where the story takes a dark turn. If Arctic ice disappears completely, the planet doesn't simply get warmer. It can enter a dangerous feedback loop. As temperatures rise, frozen Arctic permafrost begins to thaw. Hidden inside that frozen ground are enormous amounts of carbon dioxide and methane. When released, those gases trap even more heat. More heat melts more ice. More melting releases more gases. And the cycle accelerates. But here's the terrifying part. Nobody knows exactly where the tipping point is. Weather systems could shift dramatically. Some regions could face relentless droughts. Others could experience devastating floods. Ironically, some scientists believe parts of Europe and North America could even see harsher winters. And that's not all. Polar bears would lose the platforms they depend on for survival. Instead of resting on sea ice between hunts, they'd be forced to swim longer distances, burning precious energy while food becomes harder to find. Their populations could collapse. So should humanity try to refreeze the Arctic? Maybe. But here's the uncomfortable truth. Even if every geoengineering project worked perfectly, it would only buy time. The real problem wouldn't disappear. Because the Arctic isn't melting on its own. It's responding to us, our energy choices, our consumption habits, our policies, our decisions. And that's the revelation that changes everything. The future of the Arctic may not depend on giant pumps, artificial icebergs, or cloud seeding technology. It may depend on whether billions of people choose to act before the clock runs out. Because if we don't solve the cause of the problem, every technological fix becomes nothing more than a temporary bandage. And if the Arctic really is Earth's freezer, what happens when the freezer finally shuts off forever?